and embodied knowledge, knowing how something works and so on. I'm very interested in issues of emancipation and justice, even science diplomacy that I notice happening over these tools, and especially issues of aesthetics, metaphysics, participation, creativity, and curiosity. Here is an example how that looks. It started with Mark coming to Singapore to teach us a bit how microfluidics work, and he had this idea, oh, we will do this Indonesian theater called Wayang Kulit on microfluidic plates. But it ended up in a total disaster. We ended up playing with some magnetic particles and magnets on something that looked like a microfluidic chip, but it wasn't really. And it continued the project when Justina, one of the collaborators, decided to go into this aesthetics of microfluidic plates that actually never turned into a real laboratory equipment. And this is my invitation to your coconut workshop that will happen over the weekend. So the interesting thing about this misuse of scientific instruments in such workshops is how it gets translated and connected to some indigenous knowledge, objects you would never think of them as scientific or basically connected to some other issues. So I'm working on this project now with some groups in Indonesia, Thailand, and I don't want to go into this, but this is for me the interesting question. Should we understand these more creative, funny activities, these misuses of scientific instruments as some form of a critique, that science is all about demarcation, science and non-science, experts and amateurs, and so on? What about science in everyday life, everyday interests? What about science and this connection to local materials, creating new networks, creating like new types of culture? And I was originally thinking to call this talk that it's about this interdisciplinary and maybe even intercultural dialogue. Why do I think it matters? This is one of these most famous paintings representing science communication, the status of scientists, and it's basically Robert Boyle doing his famous experiment with the vacuum in which some bird or some animal dies, and the people around is in awe and fear. And we still live in this idea that scientists should be these powerful figures that create such inspiring experiments with their instruments, and that the public should be these passive viewers or something of that kind. By the way, and this is nowadays, so this is just a few days ago in Singapore, just to show you a different relation between scientific use or misuse of instruments, that just a bunch of people took part in a really funny workshop called brain hacking. So this is to amuse some of the serious neuroscientists here. What we did, we basically had this like weird research about if you put like 2 LEDs and you create these glasses and you have the right frequency, it somehow modulates your brain activities. And for us, the whole purpose of this was actually to create this creative eyewear with these 2 LEDs, 8 tiny, some potentiometer to change a bit the frequencies, and just to design different type of things. So your question should be, why people build these pseudo-scientific instruments that have maybe aesthetic, artistic, or some funny quality, and what is the value of these type of hacks? These are just more examples what people did a few days ago. These are some of the, interestingly, for me the interesting part is how different people in the group interpret the scientific instrument. On the front side we have the engineers, and the back are, in the middle are the artists, and then in the back are some more like hybrid type of people. So the scientists and engineers in front, they actually, this is the back, they were really interested in the function of the instruments, so their design were really simple. Some of them just put the LEDs on their hands and just wanted to see like what is going on. And the designs on the end side with the art students and so on were actually more interesting. So, why prototyping these funny mind machines, which are not even like a real science, and maybe people learn a bit of soldering and they learn how to connect things, and what is the value of this creative eyewear? One of the reasons was purely parody, basically mocking this recent history of Google Glass, Oculus, funny images like this. For some people it was a bit of a critical prototype. In some of the projects we were asking these like interesting questions about how did the interest in electricity turn into light in all this neuro research, and what is, let's say, the media archaeology behind this scientific instruments, and maybe even some future scenarios connected to optogenetics and so on. So by prototyping these tools, it was a way to discuss these interesting issues about electricity and light and neuroscience. So we were looking at some old designs, at some media fantasy, so these like mind machines in the back, even some fashion items, and interesting movie stuff. Some of the people were actually really interested in neuroscience and in these like self-experiments with their brain. So for them, the interesting question was, should we gather data? How should we gather data? What we should do with that? So we came to these issues of control, alteration of the mind. I'll just skip it. Looked at some strange patterns, like this one that surprises about manipulation of your mind through the display. And this is just another example how these groups can be very hybrid. This is like Bacteria Lab in 2014. We have strange participants from 12 countries. Here something I tried to, and the strange thing is also the support. It came partly from a Chinese company for open hardware, Swiss grants, and 4 or 6 independent, let's say, grants from some hackerspaces and so on. Okay, good that I know that. So this is how it looked like, but it's a similar thing as I showed you with the eyewear. It's a lot of chaos, a lot of like hybrid people, like hybrid users or participants, strange ideas that people work on. I love this one, my favorite gene punk girls working on their dildos that reproduce the microorganisms. And this is, I think, my last point. So should this open science hardware be just about science, really, about demarcating like good knowledge, objective knowledge from some shady pseudoscience knowledge? Should they be about creating, like adopting it to some interesting design ideas, maybe about some form innovation? Should they be just about participation? So I'm working on this issue. How to question these purely epistemic or normative goals of science. So it's all about doing good, like good science, good for society. I feel it's a bit too much. And how to make a good reason why these like really funny misuses and let's say creative, expressive, poetic, performative misappropriations matter. And what do they mean? Are they about bringing our attention to material and cultural conditions of doing science? Are they about something else? I just wanted to mention Scott Edmonds, who is, for me, the main authority in terms of explaining why we need these open hardware tools to do better science. It's about retractions, it's about better publishing, it's about killing this industry that makes like a profit that is, I would say, immoral. So this is my thanks to Scott. One of ideas I wanted to work while here was, can we do something about creating these hybrid networks with these new platforms with the blockchain? So I'm still very interested in it, and we experiment with them, and this is it. Thank you for your attention. I think I was very
You were unbelievable.
Yes, last point. We'll have a reading tonight. Rudy, show us.
Yeah, well, this is my book launch here. Probably seen it lying around. I finished writing this book on biohacking. It just got printed and sent straight from the publisher here to be presented. And I thought, because time is short and people are probably eager to get food, I would like to read a chapter before we get the food in the food place, where it is. Hope to get your attention there and maybe start a little bit discussing the subject. Yeah, it is in German, the book. I want to read shortly in German. I hope you don't mind. I will not take too much time on reading it in German, but I will explain it in English and contextualize it, and we can discuss it if you feel like it.
Thank you. That was super fast. That was super crazy fast. So you win.
You should come back. We have some questions.
Yeah. If people have questions, yeah.
No, we still have 10 minutes to discuss your high-speed presentation. Come back.
We
have to come here.
If anybody has questions.
I press it for you.
There you go. Does anybody have questions? We do have a minute. So.
What is this material?
Yeah, so my interest
That's
now
the pipe.
basically are smart contracts. So I'm wondering whether this type of tools wouldn't support more of these
I've noticed that there's like some of the most attractive type projects, especially in citizen science, tend to have a high degree of like randomness. Like human beings really enjoy, like, have you ever played War, the card game War? We just flip it over and you just like compare two values. It's like the stupidest game ever, but people just enjoy like, it's like betting, right? It's just like randomness. And there's a lot of randomness in scientific data, and I think that's what attracts some people to things like galaxies and stuff. And I'm just wondering if there's ways to use randomness in.
Absolutely. As a philosopher, I can answer that the issue is randomness and chance. It's a very deep issue that goes back to Aristotle and Plato, which didn't like randomness. All their idea about objectivity, facts, ideas, is about finding the design principle behind everything, which will not be random. And atomism comes with this idea of chance, and of course I enjoy it for that reason. But yes, I'm actually going back in history in my research. I'm looking into mechanical artists and these like pre-Bacon type of alchemists and their reasons for building instruments, which were also more about randomness. They were about instruments that also have some cosmological or aesthetic reason. Anyway, I will share the paper that I'm working on, so your comments are very welcomed. Yes? Please, I had enough trouble in my life. Okay, put it back. But it's, you know, it's like, I feel I'm taking advantage of it. It's an amazing group of hackers. I hope next time they'll make it here. It's Gene Punk, a group of like girls, hackers. Should I pretend something? Yes, please. Definitely, I agree. All these critical design fiction type of practices, they have a lot to do with what I'm presenting. But I was really interested, like, why scientific instruments and not some other objects? Like, what is about scientific instruments and this idea of science objectivity? And there is a mystery that attracts people to scientific instruments. But I find it sometimes very reductive, like all this talk about why critical design and design fiction is usually, oh, we will be also useful in terms of creating these future scenarios so the stakeholders and, you know, get used, so we create like something like getting used to the future, which I feel we always try to make arguments which are pragmatic. What do we just say? It's not about pragmatic reasons we are involved in it, it's pure curiosity, enjoyment of chance, like why these things shouldn't matter, and how to make evaluation criterion based on it.
Yeah. Now you're trying to like define it, yeah. Anything else?
What? Dadaism, yeah.
Somehow, under this Dadaist celebration was picked up by the Swiss National TV Science Show. They looked into randomness in science and Dadaism in science, and somehow ended up.
So you had some big Dada.
I don't know, it was one of the kind of important, whatever, public science figure has strongly pushed that science should embrace the language of Dadaism.
Yeah, and we have so many examples. But we actually discussed this in one of the groups, what to do with the strange data people pick up in their instruments. Should we just change them, or, you know, and I really think like actually we should do something creative with this weird data, like this weird spectrum playgrounds. It's people putting their cats and making collages of
Oh yeah.
so you're switching your industry course. So anyway, visit the coconut workshop on the weekend and you can do some more stuff. And thank you.
That's it. So I think we're just going to clean up the space a little bit. So should we need to put the chairs away? Keep the chairs out. Okay. And then we're going to go to fondue, right?
So I think if you haven't noticed, Jenny has shared on the website the information about where the fondue is. You have to take the tram downtown, walk from the central station down to the lake.